possible. Also because it actually helps you to practice your pitch,
Okay.
or just create collateral to send around to other people to save your time. And I mean, so thanks for letting me share it. So yeah, I am an angel investor in some DevTools companies. I can give you a little bit of advice, but obviously I'm never going to be like the VC that's sort of leading around or anything like that. So that's really what you're going to look for in like a proper seed round. But if you're looking for small angels, I could definitely offer my opinions. Yeah, show me what you got. Where are you now? How long have you been working on it? What numbers are you happy to share?
Okay, so I'll share my screen and show some of things. Yes. So hold on.
And by the way, I like search because I'm not happy with like existing solutions, but also it's a very challenging problem because search is very habitual. In a sense that like if I'm just used to something, even though it sucks, like for some reason I don't change.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why. So we have two products here, and one is our felvin.com website, and another is we have a Chrome extension. So what does the Chrome extension do is, yeah, so we have this Chrome extension, which actually enhances your Google search experience, basically. So it inserts things from our felvin.com things on top of your Google search page. So you don't have to switch your search engine. That will, so that reduces the psychological barrier of switching search engine. That will tell people, okay, there's something you are missing in your search engine. And then we have a lot of users, maybe 100,000 users, 500,000 users. We can use it as a place to redirect people to our main thing later. So that's how we are thinking about distribution. So this is the extension is what we want to push now. And yeah, and like for after a year or so, maybe like when we have got a lot of users here, so then we'll ask people to make felvin.com the default search engine. That's the idea. And the things we are doing here is, so as you see here, like a lot of dev utilities, you search for bubble sort in JavaScript, we show result from the algorithm. You search for these small dev utilities, so we show it there itself. And all of these things are, all of these, we are calling them instant apps. So all of them are open source. So yeah, so we have this repository here where people can build these mini instant apps, which is all like the same thing is being used in the Chrome extension and the website. And there are some 65 of them now, and actually like more than half of them were volunteer contributed. So and we have some 33 contributors, as you see. 5 of them are from our team. Everyone else is like outside, and people who came in I mean, yeah, purely random.
We didn't even advertise. Just came in.
So
that's really cool.
Yeah, they are usually coming from Hacktoberfest and these like write tags on GitHub, and a lot of people are coming through this good first issue tag. So we had a student coming in from Nairobi, Kenya, and he's learning React, and he just wanted something to test out his React skills. Yeah. So that he came to us, like added an instant app, then went back. So we have we also conducted a hackathon where people created 19 apps in 2 days. So we wanted to conduct bigger hackathons. We see that there's like a lot of drive in students to do these things if you can give them a like right chunk of guidance. Work. Yeah.
Okay. So before we go too far on the instant apps, is this the core experience, or is this like optional extensions?
So right now, this is the core experience, that the extension is the core experience. And but what we see, we have a lot of other plans, right? So this instant apps can be, they can get data from your private repositories. It can be maybe like even it, so they are very flexible. So the source can be anything basically. So it can fetch data from npm package manager. Maybe if you have Asana and all, you can you search for something and you can get your tickets. If you have maybe internal data warehouse, you can also get things from there. So it's very flexible. But initially we are only focusing on the dev kind of things, and then we have more ideas around how to. So on the felvin.com website, we have more ideas around how to give a more superior experience. That is, we are working on. So it will take some time to.
Okay, so right now you would say that most people should use Felvin as a Chrome extension rather than as Felvin.com.
Yes.
Okay, and the primary function of Felvin is that you enter in some keywords and that will open up an instant app alongside of your main search experience that hopefully gives you something that is more useful than whatever you get in Google.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I wonder why. So like what happens when Google already has, Google also has some instant apps. Like I think if you punch in like calculator and countdown timer, stuff like that. Do you conflict or?
No, we don't show it.
Does it matter? Oh, you don't show it? Okay. Yeah. So you're basically building what Google doesn't have.
Yes. So it is strictly a superior experience.
Yeah. Got it. You see, you're making me interested in there's something that I do a lot, which Google doesn't do well. Which is I look up company valuations. And Google has a Google Finance widget that is not very good. I'm interested in replacing it because it just doesn't give me the details that I want. I probably need to call Yahoo Finance, which is more data, and then display the right fields that I always look up for every company that I always look at. So that's one use case for an instant app that maybe you might want to consider.
Yeah, that we can definitely build, and it will take less. I mean, so
it wouldn't take very long.
Yeah, I mean, we can build it. You can also build it. Like
exactly.
That's the benefit. Like you don't actually have to. That is one of the core experiences that you don't have to wait for us to build anything for you. And eventually we are targeting the entire market. Like it doesn't just, we're starting with developers because that's where you can start the flywheel. They're more interested in things. But then eventually when we have a repo that's big enough, it actually covers everything, starting from sheet music to currency converters. It can be anything, right?
Yeah.
And you can just
that's cool.
Yeah.
How do people discover instant apps today?
So through GitHub first issues, that's how they are discovering the repository. And the extension, we have not pushed it out yet, but the plan is to so we are planning to sponsor some college festivals and conduct more hackathons for students so that they got to know about it, and then like they use this. So we plan to have one. So there are like a lot of these things, these events which keep happening across campuses. So through them we manage to push it. But it brings back to the original question that what does a good number looks like, right? So
it's an interesting question. Look, like so there's a few things here. So I like, obviously I think I like the pitch. It's very simple, like, and it's easy to understand, and I like that it's easy to contribute, and you can even people like me, I can immediately imagine a use case where I could benefit from something like that. The challenge comes from, like, if you're asking me like what is a good number, it's not so much like what's a good number so much as like, are those whatever number you give me, is that number valuable? Are they ever going to pay for something like this? Or is this going to be like ad supported? Are you B2B or are you B2C? Do you have answers to this?
We want to be B2C, pure consumer play, and it's gonna be ad supported because that is something. I mean, that is a business model which works with search engine startups. Even DuckDuckGo is ad supported. Startpage is ad supported. Everyone is ad supported.
But have you come across Neeva?
Neeva, we have also come across Neeva.
And there's another one, u.com.
U.com, yeah.
Yeah, u.com. Anyway, so these are clear questions that, I mean, it's good that you are very, it looks like you're very confident about your answer, but this answer categorizes you in a very different set of investors than, for example, what I'm used to. I'm very used to B2B, like enterprise tech investing, for example. It has a different churn profile, a different customer acquisition profile, different monetization. I will say that I have zero experience in ad-supported businesses.
Okay.
And you probably really, really want to make sure that you focus in on those people, because if you're sure that this is B2C.
Yeah.
The reason that the only thing I'll say that may change your minds a little bit is that developers, if you focus on developers, if you like, part of the reason that you reach out to me is because I clearly have a very developer focused mindset. And you said you're targeting developers right now. Developers are kind of your doorway into B2B. Do you need me to talk a little bit about the differences between B2C and B2B, or are you very set on B2C?
Yeah, we are very clear on B2C,
Okay.
and we have talked about it. I think so. Developers also are there two categories. We want to target basically student developers, not developers in I mean, not like people who are 5 years, 6 years in the industry. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So then, and even like, so yes. So even those, that segment has some value, but like they're also not super high value that people would pay to target those that highly. But like, look, students have some value. I know this. So I'm not saying that that's a negative. Okay. The next thing I would think about is, this is tricky for a Chrome extension. It's like, so essentially, like the biggest sort of consumer social indicator is sort of like a overall retention. Typically, this would be something like DAU over MAU or WAU over MAU. For something like search, it is so frequent, and you're a Chrome extension anyway, like it's very hard to cut like what is a user, right? But you can track usage of an instant app, and to the certain extent that you have increasing, hit rate of like people typing in instant apps and finding what they want and then using it. I think you have a very good growth story to tell there. And I want to give you another metric that is related, which is active users, whatever you call it. Let's say DAU over registered users, meaning everyone who has ever tried out the Chrome extension ever, including those people who have tried it out, didn't like it, and left.
Yeah. Facebook
was 50%.
Okay.
Insert active users over registered, and that is one of the highest ever. And so those are the kind of consumer metrics that really get attention. Yours will be fairly high because I think that a Chrome extension is not as, again, like all these rules are for like social websites, like destination websites. You type them in the browser and you go there. Whereas this is like a layer on top of Google. So I don't really know what the metrics are for this.
Okay.
I would say two more things for you to explore. Honey is a very well-known Chrome extension. Are you familiar with Honey?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So Honey is Honey is like a $4 billion company, like very, very far away from where you are. But I would try to go back in their history and look at their founders, like talking about their early days, and see whatever you can get from there. But again, like let's say they're like 10 years old. I think they're quite old. Rules change. Like when they got started, probably was a very different climate from what it is today. The app store, the consumer behavior, everything, right? So you also want to complement the extreme successes with more recent, companies that are maybe a bit closer to you. I don't know the Chrome extension market that well, but one that I've heard is doing well is Toucan. Have you heard of it?
What is it called?
Toucan, Toucan. It is a language translation Chrome extension. So what it does is it randomly translates parts of your webpage for you into the language that you're trying to learn, and just forces you to read in that language.
Wow.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So I think they are I've heard, by the time that I have heard of them, they are reasonably successful. So they raised 4.5 million last year and raised 3 million in 2020. So let's say late seed stage is where they are at. But I've heard of them. I mean, like they have a fair amount of content out there on how they got started. So maybe you want to check that out as well. But you see, none of these like focus on students. So maybe you can find something that's even more specific to your market that would get you the kind of metrics and the traction that you might need, as well as some strategies of how to get there. Is this helpful?
Yeah, this is helpful. This is
Okay.
Okay,
let me see what else.
Toucan, and so what essentially you are saying is we should look at
Grammarly as well.
And
then if you want more historical examples, the one that became superhuman, Reportive. Have you come across Reportive? Reportive is basically like whatever email you're reading in Gmail, they look that person up in LinkedIn, and then they surface the panel right next to your Gmail, so you can see like metadata about each person that you're looking at in Gmail.
Okay.
I think it was sold to LinkedIn for something like $1 billion or something, and
wow.
But this was like 10 years ago, very, very old, but still like worth considering, because like some of these numbers don't really change. Like, for example, if you're making a new social network, you still look at those retention graphs. You still look at those like, active over registered and stuff like that. And whatever your North Star metric is, like, the magic activation point, I got 7 friends in here, and then I'm magically over the hump in terms of I'm actually sticky to this app instead of just kicking the tires. So all these are interesting viewpoints. And then perhaps one more thing that I would consider for you is like, just the targeting aspect is interesting. Like, so right now I'm going to assume that you haven't done any monetization at all.
No.
So how long do you need? I think in B2C it's very common for you to just go for growth, right? Like, forget any monetization, just raise a bunch of money and just try to get as much value as possible. But when do you start experimenting the monetization? I think you as someone who's fundraising probably need to have that worked out a little bit. Like, in the sense that like it should not freak out your users the day that the ad shows up. Because otherwise, like, it's a very sort of very impaired asset is the term that I think about. Like, if your user base rebels against you every single time you try to monetize, it's a very hostile business to work on. Which again is not impossible. Like, Reddit is doing it, but like it's very difficult. It's a very difficult business to run compared to let's say a business where like people aren't surprised by it or don't mind. Obviously the best is that they actually look forward to it. They like your ads, right? That is the ideal. Like, can you tell me like an interesting use case that one of your instant apps have created where people actually find something that is that drives revenue to a company, and that that's something that users actually enjoy, like they actually prefer to find, and there is a use case for that in search, right? Like, so, but it's hard to tell, because sometimes a lot of times like these things will be good for a while and then they will become corrupted by SEO hackers and stuff.
So the way I was thinking about monetization, as you said, was so there's a lot of precedence on other search engines monetizing by advertisement, and even things like start page. So if so start page is like, they have no innovation basically. It's a layer on Google Search API, and they say they plant trees for all the advertisement revenue, right? So it is a profitable business. They earn some 25 million per quarter or something like that. I will look up their revenue again, but yeah. So how well does it tell the story that this can be a profitable business?
You said they're profitable. Okay, so they're making money. By the way, I don't know anything about Start Page. I've looked at it, but I did not know how much money they're making.
All the finances are open, so they make money. They are profitable, and their burn is actually like they're profitable. There's like burn is really low. Even DuckDuckGo is profitable. And they also like, all their search API is also like just Bing's API, right? So initially when you just talk to people, they feel, okay, can you make enough money from advertisement? But I feel they are good answers to that question. So how is this I mean, do you also feel it's a good answer, or should we push into getting some more data points?
The straight answer is I don't know. Like, this is really out of my wheelhouse, right? Like I told you, I'm normally B2B. So I don't know.
Okay, got it.
Sorry.
Yeah, who will
let me yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me give some more thoughts on a couple more things. So I haven't talked about K-factor. I don't know how to measure that. So this is very much a US, like Silicon Valley social media thing. K-factor is a measure of your virality. For every person that joins, how many people do they end up referring? It's a very vague number, especially if like the word of mouth isn't trackable, which likely it's not. But if there's any way for you to track it, you want the K-factor of like 2 or something like that. I don't know. So just see if you can figure out a story that like so I'll give you one example. One of the early Dropbox hacks was that if you invite a friend, each of you get like extra 50 gigs in your storage or whatever, right? Like, and that actually incentivizes people to invite their friends, and that was a sort of natural inherent growth loop that they built in. Right now, when people use instant apps, there's not so much of a growth loop apart from let's just say someone saw it and then they're like, well, cool, what's that? But if the product actually becomes better if they're sharing with their friends, that is an interesting idea. Which actually brings to mind one tangent. So this is I'm gonna change topic a little bit. Did you come across the Google search is dying blog post on Hacker News?
Yes.
We use it everywhere.
That was a really good blog post. I think that essentially using Reddit as a social collaborative filter for search is very powerful. I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but like I think this idea that making it a core part of your product that if your friends use it is better. I think it's a very powerful concept in B2C. One of the most impressive startups in China has been Pinduoduo, which is the sort of like a group buying app that is the sort of time centric. I'm sure there's an equivalent in India as well. But like the idea that like using it by yourself, fine, but like with your friends, really good. That actually increases the virality a lot. And if you can tell a good story there, I think B2C investors would be very, very interested, because obviously that will lead to higher growth, but you have a very strong reason why it's higher growth. And it's not because you're going out and spending a whole bunch of money on hackathons. People are just finding it. Based on their friends, right? So coming back from the tangent, the other thing is like, okay, what kind of money are we talking? Like, so like I would say I have invested in companies with $0 in revenue, but also like just like one customer, like for B2B, it's like kind of one customer that paid 30K for one contract for a whole year. For you, like it's weird because I haven't thought about B2C at all. Like it could be years before you actually like even try to monetize. So maybe you don't have to show any revenue metrics. But have you thought about like, let's say like active users, like is 1 million sounds high, but it's totally doable. Probably like that would be a nice round number for you to hit, but probably like, can you sort of bring that down in some way? I don't really know. That's kind of where you have to sort of think it out. But I would definitely at least say like finding, like looking at comparable maybe browser investments, Chrome extension investments, and what kind of usage levels that they have, and being able to say like you're actually top tier in this. Like people have no idea, but you're actually top tier, and you figured out an angle in the market that other people haven't really attacked yet. That's very interesting. So maybe that's the approach.
We have been thinking of like a few approaches of how to market our product. Like we know eventually where we want it to be, but there are many uses to our product outside of that. So for instance, if you're a new developer, if you're somebody who's just learning, you have enough, you know enough to build something, but it's not enough for you to, make it a project or get you employed, especially if you're a new student beginner, right? And our place is a very good place for you to test it. So one of the things, like these were just ideas we were thinking, there are places that you can partner with that have students who want to test their product, and they can just use, they can recommend our site as you build it, you integrate it, and you can immediately see your app there, and you see, as testing. We were also trying to incentivize. So for instance, if you look at Quora or even Stack Overflow, right? For every contribution, you get some points. And you become the Stack Overflow person with this many answers, you become this Quora person with this many answers. And we were trying to incentivize a little bit like that, like giving people incentives. We are trying to make a leaderboard where we say, okay, if you've made X contributions, you are like top ranking contributor, or you're fixing bugs. And then it's something that you can actually start using in your profile. Like I am a top contributor at, like people say these things, right? I'm a top contributor at Quora, and then you can just be like, I'm a top contributor at this place. And you can just go, people can just go and see your work product there. So those are one of the, like, we are thinking of marketing. We have some ideas like that of how to market it. And eventually, because the thing with us is, the flywheel will start once we have a huge repo. We need to get there, where the repository becomes big enough that now people start just referring it, like, oh, use it, this is actually helpful.
The flywheel will start once you have a huge repo. Once you have a huge repo of instant apps, or once you have a huge repo in terms of stars. Instant apps, right?
Instant apps. So yeah, the flywheel is this, that more people use it, more incentive is for people to create instant apps. That means like our extension, our felvin.com website later is more useful. So there is more reason for you to switch. So that flywheel. And
okay, I don't know. I think this is the nice story to tell. Where at the end of the day, the number of like the percentage of developers versus the percentage of total users. The rough statistics that we have is like 0.4% of the population is developers, right?
Yeah.
Your user base will be overwhelmingly non-developers. They will just see what's on the App Store, and that's it, right? Like so this gamification of development is positive, especially for students, because they can show that they're top developer and whatever. But it will forever be the smallest part compared to just finding the right use cases for the 100% of people who are basically no code.
Okay.
So to me, it will be, it may be a key part of your, let's call this a marketplace, right? You're matching, you're selling kind of like a three-sided marketplace. You have developers coming in, you have users using those apps, and then you have advertisers targeting those users. In the marketplace that you build, acquisition of each of these three are going to be very key. And obviously, usually when you study marketplaces, you're constrained in at least one of them, particularly with a three-sided one. You're always going to be fighting fires in one side or the other. So I think the gamification of development can be a tool for that. But I will say, so I'll put this question to you, right? Is it more attractive that you give me fake internet points for like a ranking, or is it more attractive that I am suddenly able to access this giant user base of users, right, as a developer? So let's just say, like, if I write an instant app and I immediately get access to like 10 million users around the world, that's already amazing compared to like whatever ranking thing, right? I'm just trying to get you to a place where like you don't fall too in love with the gamification thing until it starts to really matter. Like if you ask the creators of Stack Overflow like 2 years into their founding whether or not the gamification thing mattered, probably not. Like they're just like they're just like, just try and answer. I'm not sure. Like again, like I could be totally wrong, right? So please don't think about this too seriously. Okay, so in other words, like you saw like you let's say you have the and here's one more thing that comes that close to your mind, Tanvi, when you were telling me about this. Most app stores, the top apps are dominant, like they're just like 90% of the usage, right? And then there's a long tail of apps that nobody uses. So do you need a lot of people to throw stuff at the wall to find whatever sticks? Or do you have a strong view on the key things that people are going to use, and you just want to make them as slick and smooth and fast as possible? It's unclear to me how much you want to invest in people throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, right? Because it's just kind of like a very random approach to like evolution is nice, but sometimes intelligent design is actually really good. Because you have very strong opinions based on your observations of other app stores. So I just want to put it to you. I don't know if you've thought about that kind of thing. But just like this criticism is just a broad category of like actually most apps are not used at all. Like you invest a lot in
those are so actually these are things that we come up with ideas, but it's really like we don't have experience in actually having done this. So it's extremely helpful for people to critique it and be like, okay, this might be something you're not looking at. Look at it this way. It's
so okay. Let me again, like assuming that you are user constrained, like I told you, you're sort of a three-way market. Let's say because of venture funding, you can ignore the 1/3 of your three-way marketplace and have no advertisers, so you only have developers and users. Assuming that you are user constrained, then there's a lot of things that you start doing that you would not do if you think that both are equal. So one thing I want to show you is an essay which has been very formative as to what I think about first-party tools versus ecosystem. So I'm gonna share this. I'm just looking it up right now. Okay. So this is very common for a lot of startups that aspire to be platforms. Platforms are very similar to marketplaces, except that they sort of host or run code. You are essentially building a very thin platform right now for people to basically piggyback on you to get into people's Chrome extensions. By the way, you need to work out intellectual property. So make sure that you have sorted out all the licensing on instant apps. And then also make sure that you have some kind of security vetting process so that people don't steal data, that kind of stuff. Okay, so this essay is about Figma, but actually like it's also about a discussion of ecosystem, right? Like it's about how do you sort of disrupt Adobe, which is kind of like the 800-pound gorilla in the space, and then Figma kind of became very dominant in the design software space. But they also talked a little bit about like how to differentiate between existing concepts, which is fine. The thing that I really want to guide you towards is that is number of use cases versus over time. So this is a digression on Canva, which is primarily like a one single unit piece of software, but now they've sort of started to open up to third-party extensions. And the question is when and how do you do that? And I think that this is the most effective diagram for me to explain that. Like whatever is very high impact, you may want to take on as a first party, as a company offering your own apps. In other words, think about like the Apple default apps that come with the phone. How do you choose which one of those are important enough that you should do it? And then how do you choose what use cases are so broad that you will let other people do it and that's fine? In fact, it's not about so broad, it's about so niche, right? So having a framework in mind to identify what is high impact and general, and making sure that the quality is really good because you are user constrained, to give you the best shot at acquiring users is very much in your interest, compared to just encouraging a massive ecosystem but not having a particularly good app to stand out.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And let the ecosystem handle niche cases, but the main ones make sure they're really good. I don't care how, like almost so and I have participated in other ecosystem building concepts where like they just kind of let whatever happen and then hope that like GitHub stars or installs or downloads or whatever is a good enough indicator. I think there should be some kind of quality blessing from the platform operator, which is you guys. Let's say like, you know, approved or editor's choice or some bullshit like that, you know. But basically saying like, and it's a standard that those developers need to aspire to make quality instant apps, to make sure that you're catering to the vast majority of users, which are the primary thing that you're trying to grow.
Got it. Yeah. So
by the way,
let me paraphrase.
By the way, the last point is individuals. Like, so this is a super long essay. I'll just send it to you. But the last point is sort of end user computing, which is individual extensibility. But yeah, I'll just stop there.
Okay, interesting. Thanks for spilling it out. Like, because yeah, I get you. So like what we need to do is, there's a long tail. Some of the apps will be way more useful and way more frequent than other apps, and we need to make sure that they're
really good.
They're really good, so that like there is more value for users and more users come and use it, and like let the ecosystem handle the long tail, basically. Yes. Thanks for making it very explicit. Yeah, because we have been thinking about it like in back of my head, but not in this explicit manner. Okay, some of the apps we have to create, and the way our mental model around this is similar to Apple App Store. So that's how also we are deciding what to open source, what to keep private, and so yeah.
But keep in mind the iPhone did not have apps for the first 3 years of its life.
Yeah. So got it. So we need to make sure people get a lot of value, and because we are probably user constrained, and we are, I think.
I think value. Yeah, I think value is what will make them use our platform and then build things. Like, okay, I'm getting value from A, might as well also build a few things for myself here, which was also like in a way our pitch, right? Like for niche cases, you don't have to rely on anyone. Like you have a very specific niche case, just build it and put it in there. And one of the ways was to say that you're solving search for each other. But yes, I think I agree that that is a good point, that we should add some value as a company.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you add value to your platform? You give more capability out of the box to yourself, to developers. So how much do you really know about your user? You maybe know their search history, but like that's also very iffy, you know. Do you have a concept of an account? Do you have their credit card?
No.
I'm just giving you ideas, right? Like the two main things that people care about are identity and money for a platform.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So as a developer, like if I find a platform that can give me out of like, I don't have to create a separate sign up. Like I just have the user ID and I don't have to ask people to enter in the credit card. Then I can build my app and do something interesting with it that is stateful compared to something that is just a stateless calculation. Anything with state is inherently more value than anything without state.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't have account yet, but I mean, we are thinking about it. It is possible to make apps which can use users' identity or get data from, basically, as I mentioned, private sources, etc.
Yeah.
Is it useful to focus on it now? Because I don't.
No. I'm just giving you ideas for long term.
Yeah. Got it.
Like as in terms of the power of the platform, right? Right now, all you have your install base with a smooth path to the Google search thing. With let's say 3 hours more work, people could build their own Chrome extension that sort of embeds themselves within Google search by themselves, right? Like they don't need you. So what work can you do to increase the value of the platform so that it's impossible for anyone else to do that? Or like no one else would want to build their own because you're solving such a hard problem that you are a much more appealing platform than others, right? For Apple, it is building the iPhone, right? Like, we made the phone. If you want access to this, like you have to come to us, right? So being a platform like that, like in giving that exclusivity or giving that clear advantage that nobody else can offer, like that is an attractive as a extension developer or an app developer.
Yeah, we get. Oh, so for the pitch, our pitch to the developers can be, we can give you access to the Google search page, and our app is already installed. So,
but that's only true once you have a large user base, right?
Yes.
Like, so
yeah, got it.
Which is why, like, probably you're going to be primarily user constrained. But every now and then you'll find that, like, actually a key developer came along and created a whole new use case that we never thought about, and that's very nice to see.
Yeah, got it. Thanks a lot. Can you suggest any people we should talk to about this?
I have no idea about.
Okay.
Yeah, consumer investing. I know like maybe a couple of people, but like I don't know them well that I could introduce to them.
Okay, not introduction. Maybe we can cold outreach to them if I won't take your name. I'll just
Well, the thing is like, also they are more institutional investors, so they would only look at like a seed round or Series A. Whereas here you're looking more for angels who specifically could help you with like some problem that you're looking at, right? So I would much rather you maybe look at people who have specific expertise that could advise you. Maybe if they're building a similar company or they have access to the kind of student demographic that you're looking for. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. This is helpful. Yeah. Any names for institutional investors? I'm curious.
Sorry?
Any names for institutional investors we should keep?
Yeah. I mean, by the time you reach these guys, like you will have much more traction. But so Jeff Morris Jr. Is a B2C investor. I think it's jmj.eth.
Okay.
I think it's chapter1.vc.
Okay, chapter1.vc.
Chapter1.vc. So he's one of the bigger consumer seed stage investors that I know, but again, US centric, and not at the angel stage. And then maybe Kevin Kwok, who is the guy that is who wrote that essay that I sent you. But again, he won't be interested until much later as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all I know.
Okay.
I mean, if you're in India primarily, if you're Indian primarily, like I know that Sequoia and Lightspeed are active.
Okay.
I don't know that they're so active in consumer, but those two names definitely just get on their radar.
Okay. So we both are in US. So we want to raise from the US investors, but I think for the starting user set, we understand the Indian demography a lot, and then it's very cheap to actually acquire users from there, especially student users. So that is the reason we want to like start from that.
Yeah, you see opportunity there. I get it, right? But the investors need to, like, is their money, like they have their money set aside for like US geographical risk versus India geographial risk or whatever they call it, whatever. I mean, I don't really know. Yeah, good luck. I actually, I'm curious, to check back with you in a few months to see how you're doing, because I mean, I like the way that you're thinking about this, and I don't know, it's an interesting idea, but I have no idea. I told you everything I know right now.
Thank you. No, of course, it's been really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much. And we'll check back with you. Yep.
Yes, we'll keep you posted. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks. I'll see you around. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.